Welcome to Laguna Seca for the Australian Sportscar Pro Am series. This is the pre-season round for the series and it's season 3. That's where we're about to start. So here we're just on the blimp cam having a look at Zachary Hanlon, last year's DP Open champion, now wearing the number 1 on his car. And we're about halfway through this warm-up session before the race gets underway. So let's start off by having a look at the classes in this championship. First of all, there's the DP Open class featuring the Chevrolet Corvette C7 Daytona prototype. Then there's also the GT1 Open class, so none of these two classes have an I rating requirement. The GT1 Open class this season though only has the Aston Martin. The Chevrolet C6 Corvette has been removed from the series due to a bit of a lack of popularity for that one, and that's allowed us to add an extra car in the GT3 classes. So let's have a look at those. We've got the Audi R8 LMS and the Mercedes AMG GT3, so they're the two new ones that iRacing has added recently, and very popular indeed, the Mercedes in particular here at Laguna Seca. We've also got the tried and trusted BMW Z4 GT3 in GT3 Pro Am. So any driver who's got an I rating or ever had an I rating above 2500 will be designated Pro, and anyone else will be designated Am. So that creates some good close battles in the championship, is effectively what Pro and Am will do. Moving on to the schedule, so we've got the pre-season round tonight where drivers can come to terms with the car they've chosen, see if they're happy with it and whether they want to stick out with it for the whole season or whether they want to swap to a different one before the season starts, because after then they'll have to stick with it. Round 1 in roughly 2 weeks' time is at Suzuka, the Grand Prix circuit in Japan. Then we start the European leg a fortnight later at Monza. What a fantastic track that is to both spectate or drive at. And then the second race in the European leg will be at the Nürburgring Grand Prix track. We'll take a bit of a break then, a bit of a holiday if you like from the series. A non-points round then at Nordschleife, and that'll be GT3 cars only, and a few more details will be available for that one at a later date. Then for round 4, finishing off the European leg with Spa, and that's a night track. That'll be a bit spectacular to see the cars going around there at night. A bit of a challenge as well. Another night race comes up next at Daytona, and that's starting the American leg of the series, which then finishes at Road America, the full course circuit, and that's a beautiful location and a fantastic track to race at also. Phillip Island will finish off the championship, and that's been a bit of a tradition in the series, and that's a non-drop round also. Any one of the other rounds can be dropped from a driver's points, or will be dropped from a driver's final overall championship points, and that'll keep the championship battle nice and close and just allow people to miss around if they've got some sort of important appointment on. So let's now take a look at the track we're racing at today. So the Laguna Seca Raceway on the west coast of the US in lovely California there, in a beautiful town of Monterey in the hills there. So it's a course that has 11 turns. One of the shorter tracks around really. It's compared to anything else on the calendar, I think it's going to be the shortest lap time. But perhaps a track that's not going to be well suited to the Daytona prototype tonight, and that might be why there's very few of them who are turned out for this round. A lot of GT3 cars though, and a few GT1s, and those cars should perform quite well around here. Of course, the famous corkscrew about the middle of the way through the lap, always a challenge to get through that cleanly. I think particularly in the DP it could be a little bit hairy through there. Alright, so let's have a look at the starting grid. So on the pole for DP Open we've got Sam Sutton in the number 11 for TTL Racing. That's a 1 minute 16.7 lap time he's set there in the Corvette C7. Just the two cars in this class tonight. I think this track has perhaps put a few drivers off, being only the pre-season round. We've got Zachary Hanlon though in second place, last season's series champion for that class. Moving to row 2, we've got Michael Schreier for Synergy Sim Racing in the Aston Martin, the first of the GT1 cars, the pole sitter there. On 1 minute 17.5 his time, followed by Michael Hammond, who's last season series chairman for the GT1 class, as the cars now move off on their pace lap. Next we've got John Barry, car number 37 there, and Troy Maguire. Finally Robbie Tomei rounding out the GT1 class on the inside of row 4. Next we've got the GT3 cars on the grid, so the pole sitter there for GT3 Pro is Aaron Osborne, setting a time of 1 minute 21.1, actually running as a privateer in this series. Next we've got Adam Funslow, who it was last season's GT3 Pro champion, and following him we've got Warren Pickering and Dave Oliver on row 6, all running Mercedes AMG GT3s. Next we've got Grant Hines, the first of the GT3 AM cars, again in a Mercedes though, and following him Tim Craggle. On row 8, Tim Ballinger and Daniel Leet, all Mercedes so far, the top 8 positions. Row 9 we've got Matt Zimmerman in the first of the Audi R8 LMSs, followed by Stefan Decker. Row 10, Chris Purnell and Brenton Hobson, a couple of Audis there. Row 11 we've got Ben Wilkinson in the first of the BMW Z4 GT3s, followed by Bradley Matheson. Next we've got Richard Brookfield and Steve Williams, who didn't set time in qualifying, on row 12. Then finishing off the grid we've got these 4 drivers here who did receive end of line penalties, and that's for having the incorrect car number on their car for what they registered with. So we've got Andrew Gaines, Darren McKenzie, Alexander Sheridan for Blackadder there, and Brett Hender, all showing lower than they would have otherwise qualified, so they've got a bit of work to do to make their way through the field. So with the grid out of the way, let's have a look at some of the highlights from this race. So first of all, unfortunately a bit of a non-event in the DP Open class, but here we see Zachary Hanlon in second place. Not long after the green flag, making a move down into turn 2 here, and taking the lead from Sam Sutton. Back in GT1 we saw Michael Hammond take away the first place from Michael Schreier, who was the pole sitter in that class. Then we had Troy Maguire, Robbie Tomei and John Barry making up the GT1 field on lap 1. Moving back to GT3, we saw Aaron Osborne hang on to that lead that he had from the pole, Warren Pickering second, and Dave Oliver there in third place, all GT3 Pro drivers. Back in fourth, Adam Funslow, and then Grant Hines, the first of the GT3 AM cars. That's position 5 in GT3 and the first in GT3 AM. So Tim Craggle second in GT3 AM, Tim Ballinger, Stefan Decker. Now these all Mercedes so far, the top 9 cars Mercedes, and then in 10th we see Brenton Hobson in the first of the Audis. Still on lap 1 here, and we saw the 2 positions in DP Open switch back again. Yeah, Zach Hanlon just running a little deep into the corkscrew, and Sam Sutton coming back through to take that position. Lap 3 now, and some chaos in the GT3 classes. First of all, Warren Pickering taking a little excursion off there near the end of the lap. Shortly later, Adam Funslow into the wall there. Fair bit of damage to his car, requiring urgent attention in the pits. Then shortly later, Chris Purnell goes wide and out of the second to last corner, gets on the dirt and puts it into the wall on the outside. End of lap 5 and start of lap 6 now, looking at the GT1 battle, and Michael Schreier really putting the pressure on Michael Hammond here, having a look down the outside. Not able to make it stick this time, but let's go on board and have a look. Schreier finally getting the job done there on lap 6. Lap 7 now, and let's just run through the field and see where everyone was at this point. So Sam Sutton still leading the way for Team TTL. Next up, Zachary Hanlon, not too far down the track, still in with a shot of pitching that victory in the DP class. Next on track here, we've got Adam Funslow, who's now a lap down in GT3 Pro, running 25th overall after that spin earlier on lap 3. Michael Schreier leads the way in GT1 and starting to pull a little bit of a gap away from Michael Hammond there, second in GT1 for the Laser Racing number 57. Chris Purnell, as you saw earlier, ran into some dramas there and now a lap down, running 26th overall. Troy Maguire, third for GT1, still within visual sight of the leaders for the Blackadder Motorsports team. Robbie Tomei next, and then followed by John Barry, also for Blackadder Motorsports. Back to GT3, and the pro leader is Aaron Osborne there, position 8 overall. Dave Oliver for Synergy Sim Racing, position 9 overall. And then Warren Pickering recovered after that earlier off, currently in position 10. Tim Ballinger there in 4th for GT3 Pro and 11th overall. Grant Hines, the first of the GT3 Am cars, in position 12. Followed by Tim Craigle, Stefan Decker, Richard Brookfield coming up through the field. He's position 15 at this point. Daniel Leet, 16, Matt Zimmerman, 17, Darren McKenzie, 18th. Alexander Sheridan for Blackadder Motorsports also moving up through the field, currently 19th overall. Brett Hender rounding out the top 20. '21st, Brenton Hobson, also running for Synergy Sim Racing there, and Andrew Gaines in position 22. And that's the field at this point on now lap 9 for Sam Sutton. Lap 12, and trouble for the leader here. Darren McKenzie running a little wide, and Sam Sutton nowhere to go. Both cars taking a fair bit of damage there, and ultimately Sam Sutton retiring from the race. Lap 18 now, and you're on board here with the overall and DP Open class leader Zachary Hanlon, and no other contenders in this class anymore, and Zach runs into a bit of trouble here at turn 4, running wide and then putting the car inside the wall, and that was ultimately the end of his race, but Hay still taking out the DP Open victory. Lap 23 now, and Darren McKenzie in the wars a bit again here, so just out of turn 3, oversteers into the wall after copping one of those inside speed humps there, and on re-entry to the track here, just Dave Oliver nowhere to go, crashing out of the second position in GT3 Pro. Here it is from Dave's perspective. So with roughly 5 minutes to go in the race, let's have a run through the field and see where everybody's at. At the moment we're looking at Michael Schreier. He's the overall leader and obviously the leader of GT1 in the Aston Martin there for Synergy Sim Racing, so great run from him with quite a solid lead over Michael Hammond at the moment. This is the first time that a GT1 has been in such a position to look like winning the race. overall, that is. And so next along in line we've got Richard Brookfield here in the Mercedes GT3 Pro runner, and currently 4th in class at the moment, and 8th overall. And he's had a good run because he's come from, let's have a look on the grid, started 22nd, so quite a good move through the field. Next we've got Ben Wilkinson in the GT Racing entry, currently running 18th overall. John Barry's next for Blackadder Motorsport, car number 37, position 4th overall and also 4th in GT1. Grant Hines is next in line there. He's the GT3 Am leader at the moment in position 9 overall, so a nice clean run from him and something he's getting more and more well known for. Alexander Sheridan is next, position 10, and he's come through from the back of the field too for Blackadder Motorsport. Quite a nice strong run, car number 91. And he's got Stefan Decker right behind him giving chase, and that is for position, although Stefan Decker is in GT3 Pro running 5th in that class. Brenton Hobson next, so car number 65 listed as 12th overall and 6th in GT3 Pro in the highest placed Audi R8 LMS. And Brenton's another guy running for the Synergy Sim Racing team, which has quite a few entries here tonight. Next we have our GT3 overall and GT3 Pro leader, that's Aaron Osborne here in the number 73 car. Actually a privateer entry for tonight, along with a couple of others. Tim Ballage is another notable one who falls into that category. So a very solid run from Aaron, and he's got quite a substantial lead. Daniel Leet next along the road here, currently listed position 13th overall in the number 89 Mercedes, and that puts him 3rd in GT3 Am at this point. Next we have Warren Pickering in position 6 overall, and that's 2nd in GT3 Pro. So he's chasing down Aaron Osborne there. Roughly half a lap behind, I think, at this point. Tim Craigle is next on the track, position number 14 overall, and that makes him 4th in GT3 Am. Robbie Tomei rounds out the podium for GT1, so currently running in 3rd. He's the 2nd Synergy Sim Racing entry in GT1. So nice strong run for him from 5th on the grid. Next is Matt Zimmerman, position 15. Bit of an untidy run tonight. Dave Oliver, position 7 overall. So he of course had that run in earlier with Darren McKenzie, but has recovered quite well and is currently 3rd in the GT3 Pro class. And we're back to Richard Brookfield there, so we're just about through the whole field, I think, there. Brett Hander, I don't think we've talked about him yet. So currently position 16 in the dying stages of this one. So had a couple of dramas there. He's a few laps down off the rest of the GT3 runners, but that will put him in 7th overall in GT3 Am. Derek Nichols had a few dramas tonight, position 18th overall. So the timer has run out now. We are on the final lap of the race here as Michael Fry continues to lead in GT1 class and overall. Last few corners here, and this is the 46th lap of the race, so that's how many laps we've got completed in this hour. Final turn. So very solid and clean run from Michael Schreier. He'd have to be very happy with that one. Here comes Grant Hines. Now he's our GT3 Am leader. So last few turns for him to come and cross the finish line and take a well-deserved victory in that class. And Aaron Osborne, who's finishing 5th overall and 1st in GT3 Pro, so congratulations to him as well. Another solid and very fast run for him. Alright, so running through the results. We have Michael Schreier, of course, the winner in GT1 class and overall for Synergy Sim Racing. Completing 46 laps there. Michael Hammond is second for Laser Racing, 52 seconds down the road. Third, and rounding out the podium, Robbie Tomei for Synergy Sim Racing, 1 minute 12 down the road. And the last GT1 car running was John Barry, Blackadder Motorsports, car number 37, a lap down. Then we move into GT3. So GT3 Pro winner was Aaron Osborne in the car number 73, the Mercedes. And then Warren Pickering for Redback Racing Team, second in GT3 Pro. Third in GT3 Pro was Dave Oliver for Synergy Sim Racing, so some good solid results for that team tonight. Fourth for GT3 Pro was Richard Brookfield for IRFF ILEC Motorsports. Then first in GT3 Am for Performance Motorsports was Grant Hines, and that's 9th overall for him. Then we have the first of our BMW Z4 GT3s, and second in GT3 Am was Alexander Sheridan for Blackadder Motorsports, who had a nice solid run from the back of the field there. Next we have Stefan Decker, car number 62, 5th in GT3 Pro, followed by Daniel Leet for Angry Birds Racing, 3rd in GT3 Am. Brenton Hobson next for Synergy Sim Racing, 6th in GT3 Pro. 4th in GT3 Am is Tim Craigle for FSR Dayco Racing, and then 5th in GT3 Am is Matt Zimmerman for LNTI. 6th we have BMW Z4 GT3 of Ben Wilkinson for GNT Racing, 7th in GT3 Am, and 17th overall is Brett Hender for Tryhards Racing. Then we have Derek Nichols for Tryhards Motorsport, 8th in GT3 Am and 18th overall. Adam Funslow, 19th and 7th in GT3 Pro for the IRFF ILEC Motorsports Mercedes AMG GT3. Now we're starting to move into the cars that didn't make it. So we've got Andrew Gaines for GNT Racing there in 20th overall and 9th in GT3 Am. Then we have Bradley Matheson for KRF Motorsports, Troy Maguire for Blackadder Motorsport, Darren McKenzie for Tryhards Racing, and then Zachary Hanlon, who was second on the grid and running in DP Open for Evolution Racing Australia. Next we have Tim Ballinger, then Sam Sutton for TTL, who was our pole sitter for DP Open. Finally Chris Purnell for OEG Racing, and Steve Williams running as a privateer, rounds out the field there. So that concludes the coverage here for the pre-season round of the Australian Sportscar Pro Am Season 3. So yeah, join us again in roughly 2 weeks' time at Suzuka, where we'll get into the season proper, round 1. Hopefully we'll see a few more DP Opens on the track and GT1s, but it certainly looks like we've got a strong field of GT3 contenders. But if you want to take part in the series, get along to the iRacing Australian Racing forums and look for the ASPA forum page there, or alternatively, if you're an international driver, check out lnti.freeforums.net. There's details there about how to get involved in the series also. So hope to see you there next time, and if you've got any highlights from, if you're racing in the series and you've got any highlights from your race at Suzuka, let me know after the race, flick me a message, and we'll try and get them covered in the next highlights package for the Suzuka round. Until then, catch you later.